I have never been the person who has I have never been the person who has been doing a lot of practice. I usually identify a question type and then go forward with practicing it. And that is what actually helped with GMAT also, because I could figure out that this is a new kind of question. I've not done this before. And if I came across this in the exam, I could not solve it in the given amount of time. For example, the number properties has a remainder quotient section, which is not intuitive. It is not as intuitive. I've even taken courses of that, and you can still be rusty on that. So uh, it's a process. It's you have to identify what's going wrong, which kind of question is going wrong, and pick it and practice. So uh, it helps to not force fit the choices. It helps to strike out choices faster, and it also gives you very clear approach, clear clarity on the choices, that which one is irrelevant. You can one look at the options and you'll know that it's irrelevant if your pre-thinking is correct. So
Right.
that is key, I think. Yeah.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another debrief session with me. My name is Dhruv, and I'm one of the strategy experts and mentors at eGMAT. And today, I'm really happy and thrilled to have with me Sargam, who recently scored a 655. And this is a massive, massive, massive 260-point improvement. She improved her verbal by 6 points from a V76 to a V82. Her quant improved by 15 points from a Q71 to a Q86. And her data insights improved by a good 17 points to a DI 79. What makes me even happy is that Sargam has found out some time out of a busy schedule and is here to share her journey, the bits and parts of her journey that she believes were the turning point, were learning lessons. And we just hope that some of these, help you guys, the GMAT aspirants, also to excel in your journey. So, Sargam, thank you so much for doing this. Welcome to the session. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm great. Hi, thanks for having.
Right. So, Sargam, when you initially started your journey, right, the GMAT journey, and you, I'm of course sure, right, like every GMAT aspirant, uh, everybody identifies the weaker areas, the strengths, right? So when you saw your baseline mock score, what were your initial thoughts? Did you feel that, oh, is this a little out of my league? Or did you think that this is achievable? Were you motivated? Were you demotivated? Take us through that little part, please.
Yeah, so I think when I started, I had barely any clue about the GMAT format. I was not aware that missing out questions can actually lead to a lot of point fall, and that how the timing spans out and how it affects it. So the timing was key. I think my initial score was a lot dependent on missing out at least three, four of the last questions in each of the sections, not evenly distributing the time. As per DI were the kind of questions I had never solved in the past. So uh, DI needed a basic learning curve of what exactly is going to be asked. As with Quant, I think Quant I was very comfortable with from the start. Just how to pace it and how to actually transform the skill that I have to be able to perform in GMAT was key. And with verbal also, I've been I am well versed with the, the language, so it was not a jump from skill, the basic comprehension skill, but definitely CR was a uphill ride. But yeah.
Understood. Understood. Yes. So many people who just start with the GMAT preparation and aren't aware about the penalty that you have to, go through when you skip questions or when you're unable to attempt a question is really brutal. But then, of course, I think you had that mentality. That's okay, but it's because I didn't attempt questions, so it doesn't completely reflect what I have, and I think that is something that helped you take the first step, right? So I just want to
Yes.
understand what brought you to eGMAT. What I mean, because many students look for preparation courses that suit them and that fit them. Everybody has a different learning style, and every course offers something different in the learning pedagogy. So what were you looking for, and how did eGMAT fit your bill?
Firstly, I wanted something that is self-paced that I could do on my own. I did want something that would help me with verbal because verbal is tricky. I knew that because I needed some at least some amount of skill building or question analysis in verbal. So uh, and I did not have a lot of time either. So uh, I was starting off very late with the target that I had. So I had to decide quick, and I needed something self-paced so that I can accelerate at my pace and as and what I can. So yes, I think two major portions were that I needed self-paced, I needed a good verbal, and thirdly, I also needed something that was well reviewed. I did not have time to experiment.
Mm,
So I
yeah,
did go online, look for reviews. Found the description well fitting. So
understood. All right. Let's quickly start with the quant journey because I think to go from a Q71 to a Q86, fantastic there, right? So let's understand what were your initial gaps in your quant skills. What were your initial issues when you started?
I think firstly was timing. If I was able to solve a question, it was mostly below the average time. But if I did not, I would just wait there and do it till I could get it right. I remember seeing the initial analysis. I even spent like 7 to 10 minutes on a question and still ended up like was able to attempt a lot of questions till the end just because I did not scale it well. I did not uh, uh, time it out well. The score was bumpy, definitely. But yeah, brushing up on the older skills, the maths that you did in school or while in college, maybe brushing up on that helped.
Understood. So I remember when we just started, you mentioned, quant you were always decent with. The problem was translating those skills into a,
Yes.
a timed setup under time pressure. So what did you do from that point to the point where you reached a Q86? What was that journey like? What helped you, one, fine tune your process skills? Second, be able to apply that under time pressure.
Firstly, I think the analysis, like giving all the marks, there's a dashboard where I could analyze what amount of time I'm spending on the questions and the ones that I did shoot up and I did fumble with, what was the case. So, specifically pick topics, what I needed to brush upon. I could see that, for example, I think the factorization part was a bit rusty. So I did go in and check out a few videos quickly because so that I can solve the questions faster. There's always a faster way to do it if you're taking 5 minutes to do a question. So identifying that is also necessary.
Okay. So there has been a narrative for quite some time that eGMAT is always good for verbal, and I'm sure you also mentioned that you wanted something which is very good for verbal, right? But eGMAT also has had a very good recent history of the last 2 3 years or 4 years maybe of helping students get a really good quant score, even Q90s, and even improve like the way you did, right? So what, how would you, describe the process skills that were taught to you in the videos, and then how did they help you bridge that gap that you identified initially?
Um, I think one is that there is a good breakdown of uh, type of problems that are there. So uh, it's there are there are two sections that GMAT calls it algebra and arithmetic. Then arithmetic is again divided into multiple sections and even problem types. So identifying the problem type that is going wrong and being able to practice a few questions of that problem type helps. And another thing is that eGMAT had a significant amount of challenging questions as well, so that even when the last mile of quant takes you, there are a few challenging questions. Like up to some percentile, up to some score, it might be easier to get there, but last final leg of three, four questions maybe is something that is challenging and is what transforms your score from Q, say 80, 82 to Q 88, 90, as much as I understood.
Oh, that makes sense. That makes sense. Uh, so many people that I meet, okay, who are just starting out usually, they always come in with a preconceived notion that the more you practice, the better you get, right? Which is something that comes from the engineering journey that they've had, and the school journey where we were always told, practice thousands of questions, hundreds of questions. But I always tell them that for on with respect to GMAT, it's about quality over quantity. Analyzing what's going wrong and then taking corrective actions is something which is key. Do you also agree with that? And if you do, how did you go about, identifying your errors, taking corrective actions, and so on and so forth?
Firstly, I think I agree. I have never been the person who has. I have never been the person who has uh, been doing a lot of practice. I usually identify a question type and then go forward with practicing it. And that is what actually helped with GMAT also, because I could figure out that this is a new kind of question. I've not done this before. And if I came across this in the exam, I could not solve it in the given amount of time. For example, the number properties has a remainder quotient section, which is not intuitive. It is not as intuitive. I have even taken courses of that, and you can still be rusty on that. So uh, it's a process. It's you have to identify what's going wrong, which kind of question is going wrong, and pick it and practice.
Yeah, that's correct. I agree to that completely. Right. So GMAT is about quality over quantity. Solving thousands of questions with the wrong approach without knowing what the right approach is doesn't make sense. It's a waste of resources. And I must admit, uh, when I was going through your account as well, you you are one of those very few students that I see who did not actually use the entire question bank. You still have more than 50% left. I think that's an
Correct.
evidence of what you're saying, that you are
Yeah.
not somebody who just practices randomly. You go with some structure.
Yeah. 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 So essentially, I was targeting the skills that I knew that I needed to develop first, rather than targeting skills that I already know and I'm able to materialize mostly in the exams. So selecting, essentially selective studying also helped me do the GMAT process in a shorter time frame, or like at least hoping to target a short time frame. So
Right, right. And in the last leg of your preparation, yeah, we just introduced Neuron OG, right? The new portal, where I
yeah.
remember creating plans and asking you to go there, do some target practice there. What role does target practice play in one's improvement after you've identified the gaps?
I think once you've identified the gaps, you practice, you do the targeted improvements, like the targeted quizzes of, for example, the questions that went wrong is essential to concretize the fact that you have actually uh, transformed your skill, and you have, you know, checklisted the question types that were going wrong, and now you're not going wrong on them.
Right, right. And that actually also helps you see. So when you take mixed quizzes, it's very difficult to gauge your improvement there, right? When you're taking target quizzes on specific topics that you've identified, it's very easy to track what's happening. And I think that's also something that plays a huge role, especially when you use eGMAT. Some really good data analytics
Yes.
there. All right, so kudos to you on this massive improvement in quant, right? And doing it in such a structured way. Very few people do it, so I really appreciate that, and that you mentioned it here. We'll bust a lot of myths out there, right? Let's talk about the verbal bit, right? You were at a V76 again, something not really to take positives out of if it's your baseline score, but of course, that's a number. But what you feel from within also matters. And you mentioned that verbal, I was well versed with the language. I knew I just had to understand some processes, and CR was an issue. What was the issue with CR?
I think PR, at least say 30% of 40% of your questions you'll be able to do with a basic idea. But like to be actually able to achieve an accuracy of beyond 70% or 80%, to you need to go by a structure of approach, a structure of thought, and most importantly, to be able to go in a time sensitive manner, it is essential that a structure is followed. Otherwise, you'll keep pondering on each of the options. You'll not be able to strike them out or chalk them out fast as it's needed. Yeah, I think the most time actually I've spent on the entire preparation has been CR, because the
Hmm.
structure and like being able to uh, master it takes time.
Correct. Because learning a structured approach or a process is a new skill, and learning that skill takes a bit of time. All you need is a bit of perseverance and patience and conscious effort. But
Yes.
once it starts translating to muscle memory, then you realize all the investment made earlier is now paying off, right? Because
Yeah.
otherwise, and you very nicely mentioned and rightly mentioned that, look, when we are all working professionals and educated people, we do have some logic, right? So eliminating option choices for easier questions or medium questions doesn't need a structured approach. But to do this on the GMAT, to get to a good score, you need to do that on harder questions. And that simply cannot happen if you do have a process, right? So, which is where I believe you're coming from,
Yeah.
right? Was RC never an issue?
No, actually, like I did before I started eGMAT, I just read a small portion of some preparation book of GMAT, and I just knew that I have to make a passage map. And once I make a passage map, I will be able to answer most of the questions. That and just a simple approach, as simple as that, transformed RC. Even on my final exam, I just got one RC question incorrect. So uh, that was something that helped. Yeah.
Right. And what was about pre-thinking then for CR, right? So how was
Yeah.
that helping you?
How was that helping? Uh, it helps to not force fit the choices. It helps to strike out choices faster. And it also gives you very clear approach, clear clarity on the choices that which one is irrelevant. You can one look at the options and you'll know that it's irrelevant if your pre-thinking is correct. So
Right,
that is key, I think. Yeah.
understood. So I was just going through your improvement and I just share my screen for us
Okay.
to see that once. Yeah, this is where we are in skill data. This was your progression, right? It was here. Yeah. So your hard accuracy initially was at a 50%. That dipped a little. I believe that would be because you were just learning the pre-thinking. And once you mastered, it started growing up again and it reached a
Yeah.
67% hard accuracy, which translates to around 85th, 90th percentile. And look at the time. The time also came down from 2 minutes 30 seconds to 2 minutes 18 seconds. This 12-second improvement seems little, but when you look at it
Added up.
cumulatively, yeah, it's a huge improvement. And then this is your RC. And again, RC also, you were decent at RC to be honest. But I think
Yeah.
some structured approach there also that you got through the course from 50%
Yeah.
hard accuracy to 80%, right? So
Yeah.
that speaks volumes about why structured approach is so important, right? So
Yeah.
again,
I
kudos to you on that.
think by the end, yeah. Yeah. By the end, I also like went through the course a bit. Like after having done with CR, I did spend some time on RC on the courses. So that also helped. Uh, it did describe what kind of choices will I face, what are the uh, common question structures that so how to approach them. And I think one essential thing is is not inference and what the key message of the passage is are two different questions. So that is, I think, a difference that is not very obvious
Yeah,
for starters.
correct, correct. So again, very, very well explained, I believe. Uh, Now, when I talk about data insights, again, there's a huge improvement that you made there. Of course, the initial score of a DI 61 was probably because you missed out on some questions, right? In that particular mock, right? However, do you believe that improving your verbal skills and quant skills did play a part in helping you improve your data insight skills as well?
Yes, partly because DI also has verbal questions in it. For starters. Second, once I brushed up my quant skills, the same questions, if translated into a data sufficiency question, were easier to answer. Uh, yeah, once you also, for example, the statistic questions, once you have brushed up quant stats, you can translate into uh, graph GITA, table analysis
Right,
and graph interpretation. Yeah.
right, right. So the problem that students nowadays face with data insights, especially the new GMAT aspirants which is starting off, there are two problems. One, not enough good quality questions. First, not enough questions on the web, and out of
Yeah.
whatever less you have, those are not really good quality, right? Uh, how did you find the data insights course on the eGMAT portal to be helpful? What the variety of questions, the difficulty level? What were your thoughts?
I think uh, with respect to the difficulty level, I remember coming across a type of question that data sufficiency questions, and not based on quant, but based on verbal. So those are that is such a niche kind of uh, question type that even discovering that is, I hope you don't discover that directly on the exam. It's so less available online. So uh, that is one kind of the question that I saw was there, and it was difficult to like understand how to go about it initially. So yeah, that was one that I could for with respect to, I think, graph GITA and data sufficiency, other questions, and yeah. So that also had a good enough description on how to go about it, like in a very clear format that you should first analyze statement one, then statement two, and then combine both of them and analyze it for data sufficiency questions. That approach is also necessary to not mix up two statements that are given. Once, if you mix up, you mess up the answer. So that is
Yeah,
also key.
that's correct. And what were your strategies for time management? Because that's another challenge that students face. Because look, let's accept and let's acknowledge that it is practically impossible to finish all 20 questions after giving enough time to all the questions within whatever time limit has been set, right? So there has to be a middle way out there. What was your time management strategy?
I think one of them was identifying the data sufficiency questions also had patterns because one of the longest part I found was essentially the data sufficiency questions because it had to be analyzed in two statements. So each of the statements needs to be checked if it's solvable, if the problem statement given is solvable through the given each statement. So if by practice or by the looks of it, you can analyze that, this much analysis for this statement is enough, you might, you will be able to answer it better. That is one. For I think a graph integration and everything, understanding the sorting techniques for table analysis, sorry, uh, understanding the sorting techniques and what you need to sort and how you need to sort is key, is like quite helpful. So yes, I think these are two kinds. Skimming through questions is difficult. It's difficult and it's tempting to answer each question and not let it go. Uh, Let it be even when the time is running. But you kind of have to balance it somehow.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Uh, so I remember the first time you reached out to us with regards to mentorship was on the
Yeah.
3rd of August.
Yes.
Okay. Your test was scheduled for 18th of August. And you had, I mean, I must congratulate two things. One, of course, you, because by then, by the 3rd of August, after preparing for some time, you had reached a level of 615 kind of an ability, right? By
Yes.
your sheer hard work, your preparation. The second congratulations has to go to the people who created the course because without any mentor's help, if a student is diligent and is putting in the hard work, the improvement is visible, and that's an evidence. So I must
Yeah.
congratulate the both of you and of course Payal Ajat who created the course, right?
Yes.
But you reached out to us on the 3rd of August, and I remember going through your entire preparation, uh, recommending that you push the date, but it wasn't possible because you had your deadlines, right? But one thing that stood out for me was the speed of your improvement after that. I could see that once you had that kind of a guidance, uh,
Yeah.
you just, moved leaps and bounds, right? I want to understand what difference did you feel pre 3rd August and post 3rd August in your entire prep journey?
I think firstly, I was doing things as much as I understand. I was understanding and just hoping that, this translates into some score improvement when I give a next mock. And when I reached out, I had to just drop that mental process that, okay, maybe what I have to do, I will not decide that. Let someone tell me. I'll just follow the steps and check for improvement. Yes, I think uh, mentorship helps you to get a direction and with a direction also be able to concretize your score in a way and also identify the gaps for you. And some gaps you might feel are okay, maybe you can manage them, or it was a one-time thing, or uh, you might find it's a boundary case, it's okay. But for when coming from a mentor's point of view, they'll actually point out if a boundary case is not a boundary case. It is a pattern, or is it actually something that is actually harming the entire score? So the expertise analysis and someone who's giving the GMAT for the first time analysis makes a lot of difference.
Correct, correct. And this was your first ever attempt on the
Yes.
GMAT,
Yeah.
and such a massive improvement. I think you come a long way. You should be proud of yourselves. Right. So now let's go to the mock journey. Okay. As I said, you reached out to us when you were at a 615, and after that, there's a steady improvement. Okay. There's a 625. I don't remember, it's a 635, but then in the end, there's a 655. The final score is a 655 as well. What do you have to say about the marks? How close were the SigmaX marks to the official GMAT?
I think they were significantly close. With respect to verbal, I think the questions were close, very close. Even with DI, given the vast variety of questions that are possible in DI, the variety covered in the mocks was very decent, very helpful. With respect to Quant, I think I found the the GMAT actual exam, easier. Maybe due to other reasons, because section depending on the sectional scores. But yes, even uh, though uh, it did not seem like the same difficulty level. I think it would have definitely built an appetite for facing a difficult exam. So even if I did not encounter it in the actual day, it did build enough appetite to be able to target even the questions that would have definitely ensured reaching a Q86, being able to target the difficult questions of the end.
Yeah. And that was probably because eGMAT had prepared you for the worst. And you mentioned initially that the questions are really good quality and they're challenging, they challenge you, right?
Yes.
And they do make you, so that is where your appetite to answer even those questions that initially felt out of reach becomes a little, you feel that those are achievable and reachable. Right? That is
Yes.
what pushes your score. Right. So I just want to share my screen again and show that steady improvement in your mock scores. Uh, Here we go. So yeah, 575, 625, 615, and then there's a 655, right? So that's fantastic. Right. So now we are coming towards the end of the session, right? So overall, my experience working with you over the last 2 weeks was fantastic, right? I knew something that if you could give yourself just maybe 1 week or 10 days more, you had it in you to just go out there and achieve whatever maximum you could, right? But having said that, the way you've conducted yourselves in the entire journey and the improvement says it clearly. In the last 15 days, you were diligent, you were on point, you were always there in touch with us. So I think you deserve a lot of credit from where you started to where you are. So congratulations to you on that. Any final advice to the GMAT experience?
Um, I think timing is key. Definitely focus on the timing. Probably targeting sectional improvements first and then jumping onto box. But that does not mean that you leave all the mocks for the end, because if you the stamina for giving an exam is also built gradually. So definitely practice for the stamina of exam day.
All right. All right. So with that, we come to the end of the session. Thank you so much for doing this. Thank you so much for sharing so many insights and putting them so nicely and thoughtfully in front of everybody who's watching the video till the end. I'm sure people would have noted down a lot of things, right? Would have learned from your mistakes, right? And that's what makes you a very special person because you've been there out candid about the mistakes you made and the learnings you got of those. So again, congratulations on the fantastic improvement. We wish you all the best for the next steps. And remember, we are your biggest cheerleaders.
Thank you.